What? What do you want? What do you want, Mabel? Hmm? He's a good girl.
Morning, everyone. Let's see. So today I put out some feelers for a topic, but never materialized. This is going to be a short meeting. I think we can just go through the recent topics we've discussed in recent days to see what we want to focus on next. Let's see. I see that I thought I saw Elaine. Yes. Hi, Elaine. And Darpon is not. But anyways, I was wondering what the next steps we'd want to do on BMC security.
Yeah, hang on just a second.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
That's okay. I just wasn't plugged in. I have been completely consumed with giblets, but I'm back after the last proposal. I think Darpana and I need to get together, but we also heard some volunteers that wanted to work on it with us. And we need to get those folks authorized on the document so they can edit away.
Oh, is there pending action on my part to do that, or?
I don't remember who it was. Let's see. I'm looking through who's. I thought it was it Sakul? Sakul Gupta? You're on. Were you the one that wanted to make some changes to the document?
Hi there. Yes, certainly wanted to, but like have not had a chance yet. So.
Okay, so
like,
then Jeff, yes, if you could authorize Sakul.
Okay, let's see. Open up my OCP. Account. Log in. OCP.
Actually, the last time I tried to access it, I wasn't authorized anymore. looked at it last week. Let's see.
Okay, BMC
Oh,
Security
I am.
Project.
Yeah, I am. I was just on the wrong ID.
Okay. And the sharing settings say it is locked down. So, all right. Let's see. So cool. If you could send me your email out of band, doesn't need to be in this call. I'll get you added to that doc.
Okay, Jeff, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then we should probably touch base to keep us honest here, put us on the agenda for maybe 4 weeks from now.
Okay, cool. Let's see, we'll do that. Okay, actually, so cool. I do have your email address. I will just go put that in right now. Okay. 4 weeks from now, let's go to the calendar. I haven't been keeping this agenda up to date. Let's see.
March 26th.
March 26th. Okay, sweet. And I'll leave it to you to sync with Japana on. Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. Thank you. All right.
Jeff, can you tell me if I have access to the document?
The BMC security document. Let me go.
Yeah.
It looks like you do.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You have a link to it?
Can you the latest
Awesome.
link?
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'll put that in chat in this call right here. And anyone who doesn't have access, actually, I'll open up read access. How's that? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Because people can read and comment for sure.
Okay. Now, when I post this link, it should be useful for most people. Link, where's it? Chat. All right, there you go.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep. And if you're on the call and would like to contribute to the doc, feel free to request edit access and we'll go from there. All right, let's see. We got some, so we did cover some feedback on ownership transfer. I think there's been a bit of discussion recently. I'm going to circle back with Chris to see when we want to bring that back up, make progress on it. Not on the call, that's fine. Okay. All right, and other recent topics have been, we did talk about the attestation workstream with Roxana, who's also not on the call, I believe. So next step for that one, I know we talked about rats, but I think from my perspective, it'll be useful if this workstream keeps those products in mind, like make sure that it's kind of conceptually compatible. But I think it'd be okay to dedicate some more time in this venue to discuss this venue being like OCP in general. I think having a workstream spinoff and discuss these problems and come back with reports every so often, I think that'll be fine. So we'll get in touch with Roxana about that.
Hey, Jeff, one thing, do we want to queue up like an OCP safe? I know some people may have missed the summit.
Right. Yeah, that was asked for a bit ago. Yes, I need to go talk to the people. We have an email thread with them, so I'll go ping it again. Yeah. Okay. Find that. Where is that?
So Jeff,
Yeah.
are we planning a follow-up call on ownership transfer?
Yeah, so I have an email. I'll send an email to Chris Hiller to see when he's available to have a follow-up on that.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. And there's another thread I have with Safe people about asking for some time in this call, so I'll ping on that. See if we can get them on the agenda. Brian, anything else? So before you got on, I think we discussed BMC security, so that's on the agenda for 4 weeks from now. All right. By the way, I will not be able to attend these calls for pretty much all of March. From March 12th to April 2nd, I'm out. So Brian, I don't know if you'll be able to chair this for that time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks. Okay. Well, yeah.
Did we close on the identity provisioning? I know Alberto had brought something up last year, and we never really, I don't think, closed out on that. That's another one we need to follow up with Alberto on.
Alberto, I think you're on. Yes.
Yeah, I'm here.
Alberto, last year you brought up something about identity provisioning or certificate management for hardware suppliers. Did we close on that, or I thought it was kind of punted?
Yeah, I don't think we closed. Well, it was specific to CAs, right? It was specific to as we have more devices and we will probably have more CAs, and the question was, should there be some sort of set of rules for the CAs to and should OCP play a role in saying, well, the CAs are sort of verified or not verified, right? And to see if you could increase the trust on CAs, if I remember correctly, that was the thing, but I don't think that went anywhere.
Oh yeah, I understand that the problem space. Actually, that's that's one we actually hear feedback about externally too. Is with attestation and device identity, the onboarding of devices, how that should be done securely to narrow the trust that folks have in all these different CAs at different security postures. Some people don't even have their CA in HSM. It's how long do they trust the hardware manufacturer CA for as they onboard devices, and that whole I guess secure provisioning or supply chain security. There is a bucket of topics under there for onboarding, perpetual trust in CAs or limited trust in CAs. I think that's a topic worth working on.
Yeah. There's the how do you trust CAs, and then the second part which you were mentioning, which is really important too, is how do you manage what we call the trust stores, right? Which is basically the root of what you trust. when you're doing verification, especially onboarding of devices and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like Jeff, here's a scenario a lot of folks have questions on. Like, what happens if manufacturer X, has a compromise at their CA? What does it mean for folks? And maybe the compromise is like 2 years after they finish issuing devices. Maybe it's compromised from the beginning. What is that scenario? And that's ambiguous for a lot of folks. I think it's been something that's always kind of been there. I think CSPs handle it maybe a little bit differently to enterprises, and I think there's opportunity to shore that up.
Yeah, that's challenging. I mean, I think because our responses usually are informed by a lot of forensics and other signals, like, yes, okay, it looks like there was something went weird there, but also I have all these other observation signals from devices that I think I own. Can I correlate this and do something useful with it?
So are you talking about root CA of a manufacturer being compromised? Okay.
Yeah. It's different for everybody on how they handle that. The security posture of the CAs is different from everybody. Some folks it's really good. Some folks it's maybe not quite as good. So I think some guideline, like probably on that. Like, I'm not sure how we'll solve it. I know typically how CSPs solve it. There's pretty rigorous onboarding process, and they record this, and in many cases they countersign certificates and things like that, and they keep that inventory. And like, there's good practices like that where you can, you have a CA that you can kind of go either way. Have your own endorsement. Like, if we look at the attestation and transfer of ownership stuff that many years ago Elaine put in a component attestation spec, I kind of taught that. It kind of touched on it, but I guess it's not resonating with like a lot of people on what can be done in terms of onboarding devices to reduce that exposure over a longer term.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, yeah. Well, what would we want as an outcome of this? Like, as far as what do devices need to support different features? Do vendors need to be more transparent about how they manage CAs? They need to adhere to guidelines.
Yeah, I even think what kind of helps is just like some the output being some specification that provides guidelines on what they should do, a little bit like the attestation and secure boot specifications. I think that's something meaningful, so everybody knows what the expectation is on them, and then perhaps some guidelines around how folks can mitigate this exposure, because as we go out with root of trust and technologies that are implementing TEEs and devices that are claiming to be secure. We've actually made a lot of progress on the device side, I feel like, where people have identity and secure boot, and we're in a good position on standardizing that and driving consistency. But the question I get from customers is like, hey, now I'm trusting all these different CAs. What if one of those gets compromised? And we have a method of resolving that. But it just occurred to me that it's not standard. So I'm sick of explaining the story in at different venues. So I think getting some good practices out there around, hey, these CIs, we'll get them to somewhat of a consistent state where there's standards out there for how they should be managed. And NIST, it's kind of weird because NIST already has some stuff out there, but maybe it's kind of a reference to that. But then there's things like onboarding where you can, countersign, so you know your inventory, and your inventory is only what you signed. If a device shows up, is it are you solely dependent on a manufacturer's identity? And then there's things like we've done in Calyptra, right, to take that further and even have like field entropy for a compromise of the device in supply chain, and mitigating against that. And I think the picture on how all of that comes together is maybe not clear for at least maybe it's clear for hardware manufacturers, but maybe consumers of technology aren't clear on the story.
Yes, makes sense. So some kind of narrative. This actually seems like it also dovetails with the topic that was raised. A bit of it was talked about in this call, but also at the global summit last year. I believe Matthew King was talking about manufacturer security as an area of focus. So I think this would slot in well with that.
Yeah, maybe we come back. I'll sync with, give me the action. I'll sync with Roberto and Matt, and come out with a problem statement on at least, and then from there we can see what we want to do about it.
Perfect. And
A question though, Brian. Where do you draw the line on like supply chain security and then onboarding and ongoing operation? It seems like all of those things come to play on this topic.
Yeah, they do.
So, yeah. Where would you focus, or would you try to do all of them?
I think all of them need to be touched on, but I've kind of focused on some mitigations on things that you can do to depend less on the supply chain. Because I think that those are like, hey, these are good things that you can go do. And even if you you come out with hey, this is how you should manage your CAs, and everybody conforms to that. I think even if you have that, you still want to reduce risk. So I think it's the mitigations are always a good step. But then I think we glossed over something like Alberto brought up, like, hey, not everybody's going to be able to do this to that level. Is there a service out there or another CA that maybe smaller device manufacturers subscribe to? I think that's a viable solution too.
Yeah, and by the way, we see it, right? The separation is the manufacturer creates the device or the platform, right? And then it issues some certificates, right, for identifying that device or that platform. And those certificates are signed by a CA, right? Now, the supply chain part involves dealing with those certificates that the manufacturer issued. Like, for example, I create a platform, I create a certificate for it, and then I ship it to Brian, right, who's going to use that platform. The first thing that Brian is going to do is to say, well, is this platform really from this manufacturer? Did it come, verify something about the integrity of that platform. And that verification, before that platform gets accepted into his data center, that verification has to be based on the certificates that the manufacturer issued, right? Once you pass that step and you say, yes, this is a good platform, I like it, I want to use it, then you go through the onboarding process, right? And in the onboarding process, depending on the size and the capabilities of each one of those recipients of platforms or CSPs or whatever type of data center it is, they are going to either generate new certificates, right? The big CSPs typically do that. They generate their own certificates. They will not rely on the manufacturer certificate after that point, right? Or the smaller guys probably don't have the infrastructure to do that. So they either have to use a service or they have to rely on the manufacturer certificates, right? So that's how I see the difference is once you get the platform accepted into the data center, then there's potentially different set of certificates and rules that apply, right? But as you're getting it, before you accept it, everybody's kind of in the same footing, and everybody has to rely on the manufacturer's certificates.
Yeah, and then I agree with all of that. And then in operation, if you're still doing that, which we do, you continue to rely on either, I guess, your own, if you've put your own in, or the manufacturers, to make sure it's still there and still running what it's supposed to during its life, its operational life.
Yes, exactly. And like I said, the larger CSPs tend to do their own certificates, right? They will generate their own certificates. They still have to keep the manufacturer's certificate around in case they sell the platform or something like that. But while the platform is in their data center, their verifiers will not rely on the manufacturer's certificate. They will rely on that CSP's or that CSP's CA certificate, right? For verification. But the guys that don't have enough infrastructure or money to do that, they have to continue relying on the manufacturer certificate even through operation.
Right.
I'm a little bit confused because what happens in the case of silicon, right? So we have, say, we're doing some kind of dice identity, right? So manufacturer can only produce the certificates for their devices, right? And then they can, if the CSP believes it, then CSP can issue a co-sign it. But I'm not sure how. When you say that CSP takes the ownership from the manufacturer, that statement is not clear.
Yeah, this stuff is all kind of, it's not standardized, right? But some CSPs, and Brian could tell you much better than I can, they like to, when they get a device, first of all, have their own certificate for the device. If you didn't change the ID or the key or anything, all you do is have a second certificate and have the verifiers use that one, right? Instead of using the manufacturer's one. But some manufacturers want to go one step further and say, I want to take ownership of this stuff, and I don't want to use the same ID that came with the device when it came from the manufacturer. So then there's special additional hardware and so on that has to be used to generate this. There's something called the iDev ID and the LDev ID that people use.
So say iDev ID, say coming from Puff kind of thing, right? And LDev ID, you put some programs are interrupt in all those things. So basically, once you transfer it through, then I got it. That it's clear to me now.
So here I think that some aspects were also discussed in the transfer of the ownership spec from NVIDIA, like which came out 2 weeks ago. Maybe that would also be considered.
Sorry, could you repeat?
Yeah, hi Jeff. No, so I was saying that some aspects of these were also considered in the transfer of ownership, like a spec which came out from NVIDIA 2 weeks ago. So that also spoke about transfer of ownership.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, one thing, and I think Jeff, you said we're going to be talking about this in the future, right? Again, about the transfer of ownership document and so on. One thing that I think we need to discuss more is that document seems to be very focused on firmware updates and who signs the firmware updates, right? But there's a bunch of other things that are related to ownership, in my opinion, and those are not mentioned in the document. And this happens to be one of them, right? If you how you generate the IDs and so on and so forth. And I know the document wasn't complete. There was a section at the end where where we
Yeah,
mention this, but we need to discuss it more.
Yeah, this is more about silicon ownership. Basically, you have iDev ID, then you put some entropy bits and you generate LDev ID, and then the owner, the next owner basically signs that certificate, right? Its own CA.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yes, I have sent an email to Chris to schedule a follow-up on that. All right, anything else? Okay, cool. So, Brian, I think so. I've sent an email to Chris about the ownership transfer. We have BMC coming up. I did reach out to Roxana to talk about attestation. Work. Sorry? Okay. And then, Brian, you mentioned you'll reach out to Matt King and see about getting more of this topic discussed with manufacturing security. Cool. Anything else you want to bring up while we're here today? Okay.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you all.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.